I'm Marcel, and welcome to me screaming into the void, mostly about books. I'm doing Criminoli's Read What You Own challenge, where my husband has picked out 100 of the books we own, wrapped them up and given them all a number, so I don't know which ones they are, and I am picking them one at a time to read them. And one at a time, I think I maybe am going to start doing these 2 and 2, because some books I have more to say than others. At the same time, I don't know. Please let me know if you think that it works if I talk about sort of the books one at a time, or if there is some positivity in doing 2. The first book, the one that I picked out on the last video, is Power, Lies and Oppression from Noam Chomsky. So this is a collection of interviews and essays that he has written and just put together and translated into Swedish. So this is not sort of a book that he has written, but it is a collection of his work. And before we're going to start with anything, Noam Chomsky has just been revealed to be in the Epstein files. What he has done in that regard, the way he has known Epstein, has been that Epstein has helped him move money, most likely to help Noam Chomsky to not pay taxes. That's my theory. I don't know why it's been moved. I assume it's because he wasn't going to pay taxes on them. But what we know is that money has been moved. My husband didn't know that Noam Chomsky was in the Epstein files because that hadn't happened when my husband wrapped these books. But before we're going to do anything else about his writing, I was first introduced to Noam Chomsky through a debate he had with Michel Foucault. And I'm an academic, and I've used a lot of discourse analysis, which was very much developed by Michel Foucault. And therefore, I was watching the debate because I wanted to watch Michel Foucault. And Michel Foucault is not a good man, by no means. He has done horrible things, and sadly he was quite brilliant when he developed discourse analysis, which is kind of a staple when doing social science. So he's a horrible man, but we need the theory that he has developed is so brilliant we have yet moved on from them. So he was doing a debate with Noam Chomsky, and the comment that Noam Chomsky had afterwards was that Michel Foucault has no morals. And so when people told me that he had been found in the Epstein files, I cackled. And I am using cackled instead of laughed, because but wasn't he the guy who said that Michel Foucault had no morals? Wasn't that sort of... And I think that is interesting in regard to his writing. He has very often been considered being on the left politically in his research. The writing that he has presented points probably more towards anarchism than socialism, which might explain why he thought it was okay to move money in a way that you need to ask Epstein to move your money. But again, he has an interesting theory, and sadly, we need to take his theory seriously, even if we don't like the man. That's kind of the sad part of research. Noam Chomsky's main theory, the one thing that he is known for, is his theory around media. Noam Chomsky will say that any kind of media, especially published by into the public in a main channel, will be propaganda. That propaganda isn't something that just the bad guy does, everyone does it. And that theory is important because if you think that any piece of media, especially a piece of media created by someone that you agree with, can be viewed as propaganda, you will view that piece of media differently than what you, of course, agree with in regard to the guys you don't agree with, which is very easy to declare, well, of course, that is propaganda. I don't agree with it. So he has sort of a very important idea when it comes to media literacy in regard to how do we view communication, that I found interesting and important. I didn't really, and this is a weird thing about a book like this, I didn't find this book very interesting. I didn't really like the essays and the interviews that they had picked out, but it made me interested in Noam Chomsky. I want to read some of his more main works now, to read more into this theory of everything can be propaganda, especially, and remember this, when you're viewing media created by people you like. So that was Noam Chomsky. And because I was unsure how much I would talk about Noam Chomsky, I also picked a second book. And this was book 7. And it is Black Hole by Charles Burns. This is a graphic novel. This is a page I can show on YouTube. It's for grown-ups, and the story is about a small sort of American town where the kids are getting infected with something that changes their appearance. And the thing that changes them is sexually transmitted. So they are very much talking about the virus and people being affected, and we are at the late 1970s. There are so many different ways of understanding what can the virus mean in this book, and I'm going to spoil the book. It's wonderful. Go read it. But I had so many discussions with my husband. What does the virus mean? What does it reflect? Because we are talking about the late 1970s. The first, and then, so the first thing I thought about, okay, it's a venereal disease. Well, in the late 1970s, are we talking about HIV? Because you didn't officially talk about HIV before 1981. That's when you started talking about the disease HIV as a disease. But people, of course, died of this illness way before it had a name. So the first sort of confirmed person we know who died of it died back in 1969. He was 16, so they, of course, medically checked him out. And then and sort of saved his body parts. I don't know the argument there. But so they had this from the 1969 where people were starting to die from HIV. So it is absolutely possible that this virus that they are continuing to calling it can be a reference to HIV. That's a very literal one-to-one comparison, especially when you see how people are being changed by this virus. Then, of course, you have the argument that the virus, rather than talking about HIV or venereal disease themselves, might be about queerness. That can also be quite common, that you are sort of having sex and then that changes you. You are viewed, you are shunned. And that's a large theme of the book, that people are being shunned when they have gotten the virus. And one thing that might also sort of play into the queer reading of a book like this is the fact that people, when they meet someone who has the disease, becomes almost desperate to be with them. So you have characters who are about to have sex, or are in one scene there is one who has the virus is cut, and another person who helps her sort of get bandaged, clean up, has then her blood on his hands and is just looking at it and is that I need to be with this woman. So there is a form of desperation in regard to when you are around, I need you now. Which, of course, can play into the queerness of it, of being sexually attracted to someone that you don't really know or think or feel that you should be sexually attracted to, especially if you are living in a community where queer attraction is quite taboo. So, and Charles Burns, who is the author, and he both wrote it, if I remember correctly, and was the illustrator. Yeah, so he both wrote and illustrated the book. And he is, while I think Charles Burns is straight or bisexual, there was nothing about him being queer himself, and he is married to a woman. A lot of his sort of graphic novels are sort of interpreted within a queer theme and a queer culture. But what so you sort of have several things that this virus can mean. But what I was so drawn to within this book was the theme of drugs and the theme of I need to have you, and the virus being addiction more than anything else. There is a byline throughout all of it in regard to doing drugs. People are smoking, they are drinking, they are doing LSD, they are doing shrooms. So it is a teenage culture with a heavy emphasis on mood-altering experiencing, and sex as sort of just a part of that culture and a part of that happening. And of course, you can sort of then understand, well, sort of using low-level drugs and alcohol a lot can lead to addiction. And that can also explain why people are sort of talking about, I need you, I need to have you, you are mine. As this byline, as this form of, as soon as I get near you, I have a form of desperation. In addition to, of course, the physical change that happens when you have had the virus or gotten the virus, and how some people are very good at hiding that the fact that they have the virus, and some are not able to hide the fact that they have the virus. In addition to that, there is also this subplot with where a lot of the people who have the virus end up at a camp in the woods to sort of help themselves or be saved in some way, where they're just chilling. And that is, of course, a form of symbolism that you find with, well, addiction and drug culture. In addition to one of the scenes towards the end of the book, where these people have lived in the woods, are now traveling down and are living in an empty house. And I have read. I've read a few of Philip K. Dick's books, and a lot of his books are about drug use. And there are some of the scenes in this house where I'm getting flashbacks, especially to Scanner Darkly, which is a book by Philip K. Dick, which is a brilliant book written about drug use and the consequences of drug use. And I think maybe this also can sort of focus in on that there is quite a lot of trippy imagery like this throughout the book. People are hallucinating. People don't necessarily know where they are at all points. There is one character who is very focused on her art and her connection to how art sort of makes her connected to the world around her, like maybe she isn't so connected to the world around her. And the book ends with three of the main characters surviving something horrible by running away, which is also sort of leaving behind your addiction, in a sense. But I have also seen someone arguing that the virus is a form of talking about just sexual awakening in and of itself, about growing up, and sort of the way the teenagers are talking about adults in such a negative way because they are such losers, and how the virus might be a symbolism for how we all need to grow up. And again, the three people who survive and who manage to deal with the story all have the virus at some point. There is sort of no virus-free people at the end of the book that we follow closely. But again, that is one of the wonderful things with books like this, where the discussion isn't, is it good or not? It's, what does it mean? And where no one's necessarily right or wrong, it's just about arguing for your take. And I have now argued for why I think drugs can be a very interesting take. But have you read it? What do you think the virus stands for? And now I'm going to pick my next books. I'm going to now pick two. And again, I want you to, because now you've had two on this video, and there therefore will be two in the next video, but leave comments down below in sense of if it works with two books or if I should go back to just doing one book at the time. So I have my little jar, picking out two books at the time. And it is book 35 and 39. So give me a moment and I'll find book 35 and 39. '39, 35. It is another of our Penguin Modern. I've already had a couple of these. And this is Daphne du Maurier, whom I adore as a writer, with the exception of Rebecca. If you want to know, I'll make a video, but you need to ask me. But this is The Breakthrough, which I then think is actually one of her short stories, because she is quite a prolific short story writer, and I'll just read up from the back. A scientist's attempt to solve the mystery of life after death has chilling consequences in this airy tale from a virtuoso writer of suspense. So this is book 1. And this is Neil Gaiman, Neverwhere. Richard, I'm just reading off the back. Richard Mayhew is a plain man with a good heart and an ordinary life that is changed forever on a day he stoops to help a girl he finds bleeding on a London sidewalk. From that moment forward, he is propelled into a world he never dreamed existed, a dark subculture flourishing in abandoned subway stations and sewer tunnels below the city, a world far stranger and more dangerous than anyone he has ever known. So, we're going to read some suspense. Subscribe if you want to know my thoughts about these 2 books, and thank you for listening to me screaming into the void.